Hey guys, Steve here, Aquaponics. Today we're going to talk about
growing with fishes. Growing with fishes.
All right.
Hey, Roger.
We'll give Roger the floor
Hey,
here.
guys. How's everybody? Doing well,
All right.
thank you.
All right, take it away, bud. Oh, do you need help?
All right.
Oh, there you go.
So the screen should be up now showing, it's just our start screen. And I heard in the last broadcast, or at the beginning of this broadcast, where Steve was talking about how we are the largest mineral supplier to the hobbyists, serious growers, and commercial growers as well throughout the United States. But we also ship overseas quite a bit. We'll talk about that a little bit more. But you can find us aquaponics.com on the internet. All of our products are there. So let's just skip on into this. A lot of people want to know how we got our start, and it's a strange thing. It was a life-changing event back in the summer of 2012. I got really ill, went to the hospital, spent a couple of weeks there, and while there, it was a life-changing event for me. So I started looking at better ways to feed myself, because I figured it was my food that was causing the problem. That being store-bought food for the most part, just not having in it what it should have. And then of course the junk food that we all take in because we love it. So when I first started looking, I started looking into hydroponics, thinking, okay, this will be the best way I can get organic and what have you. It does work for a lot of people going just hydroponics, and they have become part of our customer base as they've gotten away from the pre-mixed stuff, and it helps them not have to dump their water so much. And that was one of my concerns, was I'm going to have to dump my water every so often. I'm going to lose all that water. So we were looking to make sure we got the full spectrum of vitamins and minerals from our plants that you typically don't get in store-bought food. Even when it says organic, they a lot of times are very low if you haven't tested in vitamins and minerals that they should have. So after that, going to the next slide, how I found aquaponics. Like I said, I was looking into hydroponics, and I was laying in my hospital bed, had a laptop in my lap, and noticed a little banner at the bottom right of the website. It said aquaponics, and I had no clue what that was back in 2012. So I clicked on it, just had to check it out, because I was in learning mode, trying to save my own life. And while doing so, one of my doctors came in, who's actually a lung doctor, and he was just doing a checkup and preparing me for some tests that they were going to do the next morning. And he just happened to look at my screen. I think he was just being nosy, and saw I was reading about aquaponics. And when he did, he got a look on his face of astonishment and excitement, and told me, he exclaimed loudly, "Hey, I've got one of those. I've got about 100 tilapia in my system, and I love it. I love the food out of it." So that was basically when I got the first inkling that I wanted to do aquaponics. And as soon as I was released from the hospital and came home, I started figuring out how to build my own system. So within the next 3 weeks, I had a system operational. It wasn't perfect. We made mistakes, or I made mistakes. Like I said, when I got home, I started watching and reading everything I could. And one of the things I noticed was that when people were teaching how to build aquaponic systems and they were talking about the great growth of plants in aquaponics, which is true, they never talked about the minerals that they weren't adding. They all acted, for the most part, like all you have to do is put in fish, feed your fish with whatever off-the-shelf food you could find, or even a mineral-rich food that was mineral-rich for the fish, and that's all you had to do. The plants would just grow. Turns out that's not quite so true. There's just not enough minerals in those foods that pass on from the fish to take care of your plants. So if you're not taking care of your plants, you're not taking care of you. So after I had that realization. We built our system, took about 3 weeks. We got plants in, and it wasn't very long, and I realized, hey, yeah, our plants are really lacking some minerals here. We could see some bad things going on with the plants. It was tomatoes that we were seeing it in mostly. Just so happened to be an iron deficiency was the first thing that showed up for us. So about 6 months later, we had already been buying iron chelate and adding it, and noticed it really made a change. And I just started buying potassium and realized that with both of those additives, my plants were looking a whole lot better. So it took about 6 months from the very start for us to open our store and start reselling the stuff we were buying in bulk. And that's where we kind of got our start. And at this point, we're shipping to about 30 countries and all over the U.S., of course, Puerto Rico, you name it. If they're growing plants in aquaponics, they're ordering from us. We sell to a bunch of soil farmers now that don't want the commercially mixed minerals. They want to be able to control the minerals they're putting on their plants. And when you buy a commercial mix, you end up with whatever they give you. So that's just one of those things. What I'm hoping you folks take away from this presentation is that if you feed your plants, they'll feed you. And it's happy plant, happy you. And you can see, happy plants here inside the fish, and then of course my wife and I. That's Terry. A lot of y'all have never seen her, and a lot of y'all don't realize that Roger Terry on Facebook is actually both of us. That's her. Isn't she beautiful? So why are the correct amounts of minerals so important for your plants? Number one is plant growth. Number two is plant health. Without that healthy plant, what you'll see is pests will move in to try to remove that plant and get rid of it to allow a healthier plant to grow in its place. That's just nature. That's the way it works. We want our plants to be able to produce vitamins in the plants and produce more vitamins when they have. I'm saying that wrong. Sorry, guys. A little nervous after the hiccup we had at the beginning of the show. Plants produce more vitamins when they have the correct minerals and, of course, the correct sunlight and all that. If anything's really lacking, you're going to see a drop in your vitamin content as well as your mineral content. So the production of minerals in plants, and plants don't produce minerals. They uptake them and move them to the various parts of the plants, whether that be the leaves or the fruits or whatever. If the minerals aren't there, you're not going to have them. And let's just say somebody was growing only beets in their aquaponic system. Beets are known to be extremely high in iron, and they will grow without it. Make no mistake, you will get a big, beautiful looking beet. But if there's no iron in that water for it to uptake, when you eat that beet, you're going to have an iron-free beet. So in other words, you're just eating a plant for no reason. It's just filler at that point. Important minerals in aquaponics, and this is actually important minerals anywhere you grow. Your macronutrients listed on the left: nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium, calcium, magnesium, and believe it or not, sulfur. And then your micronutrients are the boron, copper, yes, copper, iron, manganese, molybdenum. I'm hoping everybody gets a laugh out of the fact that I can't say that. Zinc and silicon. Silicon is one of those unknown minerals that is being pushed to become an essential mineral and just isn't quite there yet. But we'll talk about that more at the very end of this presentation, how important it really is. So how much of each nutrient mineral does your aquaponic system need? And that is a loaded question. There's several factors to consider, whether you're a commercial or hobby system, or your crops, how many gallons of water in your entire system, what are your water conditions, such as pH, ammonia, nitrite, nitrate, and then your mineral levels. Well, how do you know what levels you have as far as minerals go? There's only a few ways to find out. You can spend a lot of money on really expensive gadgets to test your water, or you can send your water in to be tested, and that's a option we've added on our website, so you can actually get your minerals tested, and we'll give you a list of everything that's in your system. So you can actually look at your levels. It's about 50 bucks a test. It's pretty cheap. And you can see what's going on in your system and make a choice for yourself as to what you need to do. Then we also offer a nutrient management system for people with aquaponic systems of 3,000 gallons or higher. And to date, we were talking about this just the other day. We've never had anybody cancel one of those subscriptions. We've got quite a few people that subscribe. And what you do is you send in a water sample, we test it, we read it, we take all the information about your system, what you're growing, your water conditions, your lighting conditions, and most importantly, your crops, like I said, what you're growing. We compile all that information, and then we send you a pack of what you need to put in your system. Nothing to measure. You get individual packs for your first week, then 2 weeks later you do it again, and then you retest your water, and we set you up for the next month. So it's a great little service. So we kind of covered some of this, but I'll go through it anyway. The water conditions you're dealing with, along with the air and water temps, and the amount of light, will all determine what you can grow, as well as what minerals and the type of minerals you need. So there's some plants out there, if you've got a lot of sun that you're getting all day long, you can grow them, no problem. But if you're getting down to 7 or 6 hours of light a day, and your temperatures are a little lower, you've got to decide which plants you can grow that will grow well and give you the best produce, the best food possible. You darn sure don't want to end up growing something that you could have just gone to Walmart or whatever grocery store and picked up that was, as good or better. Just not worth the hassle at that point. So just for instance, if your pH, and I said that was a factor in what minerals you could use, let's say it's above 7.6, which we don't like to see, but if it is, and you can't get it down, then you're going to have to use a chelated iron that will work above 7.6. And the only one out there that does so, and does so very well, is EDDHA 6%. Now, if your water pH is below 7.5, then you can use a DTPA. There's another one on the market we have to warn you about. It's ETPA, I think, or ED, I don't know. It's EDHA, something like that. Anyway, it can become toxic to your fish. It's also used as a broadleaf herbicide, so it's not really something you want to use in your aquaponic system or in your soil systems or any other system that you're using to grow. And the main reason is that your plants can't uptake it unless your pH is at 4.5 or below. So it's just a waste of money, and you take a risk of killing your fish. The pH levels will also help you decide if you need to be spraying minerals on, depending on the minerals you choose to go with, or if you need to add them to your system water. There's some things you just do not want to add to your system water because it can upset the balance. It can kill your bacteria, and we make sure you know exactly what you're getting and how to use it, so that you're not getting a product from us and thinking, hey, it's great, I got this potassium whatever here, let's just put it in the system, it'd be great. Well, not necessarily. We've got some that will raise your pH. We've got some that will add chlorides if you put it in, which we don't want to do. So you end up with other issues if you do it. All right, so let's get down to our micronutrient deficiencies. Nitrogen is one that everybody should be aware of. They should know what it looks like. So we haven't linked any pictures to it. But what you'll see is the entire plant, for the most part, will start to turn yellow, and the veins will remain green. No, I'm sorry, the veins even turn yellow. The whole thing turns yellow. In extreme cases, they turn a bright white. So it's a really unhealthy looking plant. Phosphorus. This is something that a lot of people don't realize their plants really need. And it's going to start with your older growth and typically on the underside of the leaves. So if you went out and were looking through your plants and you saw a tomato and you flipped the leaves over and looked on the underside, in the early stages of phosphorus deficiency, you're going to see the bottom of those leaves start to turn a reddish purple. So you can pretty definitely say this is what my problem is. And you can read this whole thing, but a couple of things. If you don't have enough phosphorus in your system for fruiting plants such as tomatoes, you'll notice that your fruits will be kind of small. They won't be the size they should be, because phosphate also helps with seed production, which is very important. So let's just look at what phosphorus looks like when it's lacking. And you can see here this reddish purple. This is the top of the leaf, and then it's severe when it turns like this, if it's on top of the leaf. Same thing here with this tomato plant. It's a severe deficiency. That's not where you want to see your plants. If you're at this point, you need to take action very quickly rather than later. Potassium. This is known as one of the most lacking minerals in aquaponics. You'll see this deficiency with the older growth first, and that's because it's mobile. So anyway, in the heat of the day, one of the things you look for is your plants. If you're not seeing yellowing of your lower leaves, you'll see in the heat of the day your plants are starting to wilt down, and then as it cools back off in the evening, they stand back up. 99% chance that's a potassium deficiency. Let's just look at some of what that looks like. So this is a tomato leaf that's got severe potassium deficiency. And this is on older growths where this picture comes from. It's not the top of the plant, it's the bottom of the plant. If you're growing an indeterminate tomato that's got the vines running out a long ways, the potassium deficiency will move out that vine quite a ways. It's only the new growth where you're not going to see it. For the tomatoes itself, the fruit, and a lot of people will say, hey, if your tomato splits, it's because your watering is changing. So you've had a lot of rain, or you hadn't had much rain, then all of a sudden you get rain. That causes the tomatoes to grow real quick, and they split open. This is partially true. They do that if you're growing in soil or something of that nature, a pot, a raised bed. If you're really dry and you got tomatoes growing, and all of a sudden you get a lot of water and they grow real fast, they'll split open. To combat that, you use potassium because your plants are going to be potassium deficient, and it makes the skin more elastic, so it will stretch as the rain starts to fill your plants, and the plants are filling the tomatoes with more water and creating more seeds and growing faster. The skin just can't keep up. It's just like people, when they grow too fast, they get stretch marks. Well, that's a stretch mark that is split open. Let's see, it should have, there's another potassium deficiency, and you can see it in this plant, it's very severe. It's even starting to burn the edges of the leaves. So it's, in fact, there's a couple other deficiencies in this picture, such as magnesium. And this is what cannabis looks like when it has a potassium deficiency. So let's go back, move to the next page here. Calcium. This deficiency is one that a lot of people don't realize they have until it's too late. And when I say too late, I mean their tomatoes or their squash or the cucumbers have blossom and rot on it, zucchini, you name it. If it's fruit bearing and you're lacking calcium, you're going to see blossom and rot at some point. Not to be mistaken with rotting that happens due to lack of pollination. But this, if you're seeing blossom and rot, chances are you've got a calcium deficiency, and there's different ways to handle it. We show that, all that's in our store, so it's easy to get to. Let's go ahead and look at what calcium looks like. This is blossom and rot on these tomatoes. One of them survived it, so I guess Mama Tomato Plant liked him a little more than the rest. This is another picture of tomatoes that are hanging, and they're showing that blossom and rot. Just looks like the bottom of the plant is dead or dying. There's no way to fix this. You're going to lose this fruit as far as it being sellable. I mean, if it ripens, you can cut that part off, and there's nothing wrong with it. It's just not sellable. There's another same picture that I had on the last screen. Sorry about that. And then this other one here just also shows what the blossom and rot looks like. You can see the blossom on this one never even fell off. And that's one of those things, the blossom just stays there and starts to rot. It will or won't fall off. And so, whoops. Let's get back out of there. All right, let's go to magnesium. And one of the things you need to know about magnesium and all these other minerals we're looking at is that cannabis needs this stuff too. It's not just for veggies, though I tend to focus on veggies. Cannabis is really what we're at this conference for. So remember, just because we're talking about one plant, all plants need them. If you're growing cannabis or hemp, if you don't have these minerals in proper levels for your plants, they're not going to grow well, they're not going to produce, they're not going to flower. They're just not going to give you what you're looking for. So magnesium we didn't look at yet, but we'll show you a couple of pictures, and this is going to happen on your older leaves first. And even on cannabis, it's going to show the same arrowhead shape. And then on some of them, it's going to show these dry dead patches in the middle of the leaves. It doesn't matter if it's a tomato plant or cucumber, squash, cannabis at all. It's going to look just about the same on all of it, but it's on your older growth. Not to be confused with potassium deficiency. And a lot of people will look at this leaf and say, oh, that's potassium. And so they'll start adding potassium and nothing changes to the point where the leaves start to actually die. The product can die. We didn't put anything in for the sulfur as far as pictures go. It's not so much an issue in aquaponics to have a sulfur deficiency. Most people have plenty of sulfur that either comes through the water or through the minerals they're dosing with. So we really didn't bring up any pictures of that. Let's see, if you do have a deficiency, you'll see it in the new growth first. So start to turn yellow, and then it'll spread to the older growth as well as it gets worse and worse. But again, not usually a problem you're going to run into in aquaponics. Boron. This is one that's new to me as far as realizing that I needed it in my systems. Over the years, I'd had the ends of limbs that were dying, didn't know why, I just thought I had bad plants. Let me show you this. It talks about the terminal buds will die off. So as your plant, your cannabis, tomato, whatever, it is growing, as it gets to this very top, you'll see these terminal buds. These aren't flowers, these are stems trying to continue growing. They will die and fall off. And it'll almost look like the bud of a flower that's dead, but it's not. It's the stem trying to continue on. So it's important if you're seeing that, you've got a boron deficiency. So that's something you want to look into. Copper, also very needed in aquaponics. But this is one of those minerals you have to use caution with. You need to make sure you get somebody professional that knows what they're doing. You need to test your water, see how much is already there, and get the correct amount to put in. Don't just start adding it thinking you're going to correct the deficiency you think you have. If it gets to a certain point, it's going to kill your fish. So don't just go throwing a piece of copper pipe in your system or copper nails, because you're taking a real risk. Iron is one of the more seen mineral deficiencies in aquaponics and a lot of raised beds. People growing cannabis see this quite often, and where you're going to see it's at the very top of the plants, the new growth of the plants, because it's immobile. So what happens is it goes to the first leaves it comes to. If there's not enough, it stops moving up. So let's go ahead and look at some of that. These are tomato plants, which you can see the top of the bush is yellow. Same on these. And then on strawberries, for those of you who like those strawberries, that's what it looks like there. Oops. Wrong one. Sorry about that. So that was it on iron. And the same thing in cannabis. If it's at the top of the plant, it's yellowing, chances are you've got an iron deficiency happening. Manganese. This is another one that I've known about for years, but never really paid much attention to it. It kind of looks like iron deficiency, but it's just a little different. I could not find a good picture on cannabis to show, so I grabbed this picture. And again, this is one of those minerals you need to use caution with, and you can create more issues than you're fixing if you overdose it. So make sure you go for professional help when you're getting ready to add this mineral. So basically, this is, I don't know what kind of plant this is, but what will happen is it'll look almost like it's checkered, and this will be on the new growth. So your first thought would be iron. If you add iron and it doesn't make a difference, then you've probably got a manganese deficiency. But the best way to tell for sure, and we highly suggest it, is that you get your water tested and let somebody professional go through that test and make sure you're low on manganese before you start adding it. Molybdenum, y'all can laugh at me again if you want. This again is one of those you got to use great caution with. It doesn't take much to become toxic for fish. So, I mean, in most systems, it's less than a gram that's going to be added. It's very, very small amount. So use great caution. Make sure you get your water tested. Get it professionally read by somebody that knows how much certain plants, whether it be cannabis or whatever, and make sure that we know that you've got fish in your system. That way we don't get to a point where it becomes toxic for fish. We want to keep it good for the plants and good for the fish. Let's look at what that looks like though. And again, I couldn't find any good pictures for cannabis. I just did these pictures this morning, so forgive me on that. It's something we added last minute. So this is what it looks like. You'll see this strange looking light color working its way in from the outside, not to be confused with magnesium deficiency. Magnesium on these leaves would make the leaves look arrow shaped. And then on strawberry plants, this is something I've seen for years and didn't realize what I was looking at. Those leaf tips on those strawberry plants get burned just a little bit, and that is a sign that you've got a molybdenum deficiency. So that's just one of those telltale signs. Again, get your water tested if you think this is the case, because if you add too much, you could do much more harm than good. Zinc, terminal leaves may be rosetted and yellow and occurs between the veins of new leaves. This again is one of those minerals you want to use with caution. We all too often see people use zinc-coated tanks for the fish tanks, and they end up killing a lot of fish doing it. Some people get away with it and don't kill their fish. They may be using fish that are a little more zinc tolerant, or they may grow algae quick enough to put a coating on that zinc to stop it from leaching the water. So, but if you're adding it, algae is not going to slow it down. If you add too much, you are going to kill your fish. So if you've got this issue with your cannabis or your other plants, get your water tested and make sure that somebody that knows what they're doing tells you how much to add. Because again, you don't want to kill your fish. Now this is one of the ones that people are not talking about much yet. It is one of our higher selling products. When I say that, I mean we sell more of this than anything else. It's a silicate or silica, and you can see the benefits from using it. Is using silicate, or in our case, potassium silicate is what we use. We get not just potassium, but silica at the same time. It strengthens the cell walls, which allows your plants to grow larger. It guards against environmental stress. And I don't care where you are, what time of the year it is, you're going to have environmental stress. So it guards against that heat stress, drought stress. So let's say your pump's shut down and your grow bed, if it's a media grow bed, was empty for 2 days. There's a good chance your plant's going to survive it just fine if it's got enough silicate to help it maintain itself. Improves the uptake of water and other minerals, so that's very important. If it's there, then what you're adding on a week-to-week or bi-weekly or monthly basis is going to uptake better into the plant. So you're going to have better overall growth, better looking plants, and your production is going to be much higher. And those of you growing cannabis, that's your key. Your key is to have high production that's high quality. And this is one of those things that'll help give that to you. So that's when you're adding it to the water. It also helps the plants heal quicker. So if something happens to a plant, it gets a broke stem or leaf damage from whatever, insect or whatever, it helps it to heal itself quicker. So you can concentrate on growth and not on damaged areas. When it's sprayed on the plants, and this is something we'll look at in just a minute, it does still strengthen the cell walls as it takes in that silica and potassium through the leaves. It guards against environmental stress the same way. It protects against powdery mildew. Now that's one that a lot of people have never seen. They don't understand. They've seen the powdery mildew, but they haven't seen a way to protect their plants from it. It protects against fungus and other mildews, and I've got a picture that shows that in just a minute. It also protects against many pests. So many of the pests that come along, they get on your plant, and they will gnaw into the leaves because they're after the sap, or they'll gnaw into the stalks because they're after the sap. When you spray this on, and we do it weekly when we're spraying it, it will actually put a coat of almost glass. In fact, they call potassium silicate water glass, because when you mix it with water and then spray it on it, it creates a really fine sheet of glass. And if you look at it under a microscope, it's got sharp points that point up, and bugs just do not like to eat through that. They'd really go somewhere where the meal is much easier. Then of course it still helps to heal plants quicker. So let's look at some of those photos. This is what we were talking about with the fungus, whether it be powdery mildew or anything else. Without silicon on the leaves, You see what it looks like? A fungal spore lands, it grows right into the leaf, and then it can spread rapidly as it creates new spores for other fungal infections to grow. With the potassium silicate sprayed on your plant weekly, fungal spore lands on your plant, and it's much more difficult for them to get through that silicon layer. So that's very important to have. I mean, if you're really trying to protect your plants, this is one of those things that will help you do it, and it's very low cost for what you're getting back. Now, a lot of people will go out and buy the liquids. You can actually buy the powder from us, the potassium silicate powder, and mix up whatever strength you want, and then mix into a 1 gallon sprayer and spray it on. Or you can go out and spend a lot of money on that liquid that's pre-mixed and do it that way. It's totally up to you. This is another couple of pictures I found of a tomato plant showing the blossoms, and the blossoms are irregularly shaped and the plant looks a little spindly. That is also lack of silicate. So that's something you can look for if you're growing tomatoes in particularly. So it helps fruit bearing plants. It helps all your lettuces and other greens. It also helps your cannabis. It's very important to have potassium silicate in your repertoire. So that when you're going out to, or you're trying to make sure your plants are safe and they've got what they need and they're making sure they're growing fast and large, that they can do what they need to do with the potassium silicate. So that's it for there. Just in time too, even though I started late, I got through it, and we're coming up on question and answer now. So anybody got any questions?
Yeah, we had a couple of questions from chat here. How does one supplement molybdenum into their system? What is the purpose for plant physiology?
All right, basically, like I said, with molybdenum, you need to test your water to see what you actually have in it first, and have it professionally read, and then let one of us tell you how much to actually add. It's just in powder form. So when we send this out, if let's say you're doing our nutrient management service, when we send molybdenum out, it comes prepackaged. There's no measuring. You just cut it open and add it in. If you're doing it yourself, if you want to buy it from us, we sell it 1 ounce packs. And the reason we sell 1 ounce packs is that goes a long way. Unless you've got a really, really huge grow, you may have that pack of that 1 ounce pack for 2, 3, 4 years, maybe longer. Next question.
So one of the other things I was going to add, sorry, I didn't realize my mic was still live. One of the things I was going to add is that molybdenum also helps with purple. So if you're looking for sales appeal of your cannabis, it really helps with that.
Absolutely.
It also helps with frost resistance, and it helps with the plant's ability to process nitrogen. In aquaponics, you want to run higher than a hydroponic system in terms of molybdenum levels to get that optimal growth, because of the aquaponics being more nitrate based instead of ammonium based. So it really helps balance that out. So definitely key things about molybdenum for sure. Do you want to tell people a little bit about as well the subscription service?
Yeah, we'll get to that in just a second. I just also wanted to go back to the Molly, talk about that a little bit more with the nitrate. One of the things we run into with aquaponics is a lot of people, especially when they're new, they overstock. Not to be confused with overstock.com, but they overstock their fish and end up with too much nitrate, so they get above 80 parts per million. And Steve, you actually taught me that with a little bit of molybdenum to help with the uptake of nitrogen. The plants will actually start to uptake that nitrogen at above that 80 parts per million, which they'll quit doing at that point. So just wanted to throw that in there. Let's see,
You've also had interesting observations with silica in terms of temperature resistance in both directions. Do you want to touch on that? With the silica helping with frost and with heat resistance?
Yes, actually, yes. Silica does make a big difference. Well, that is not what I meant to share. There it goes. those. Okay, so silica does, potassium silicate when you're using it. We talked about the environmental stress that it helps with. It also will help with resistance to freezing, frost. Probably not a hard freeze, but if you get a light frost, we have seen with our plants in an open area, we've got plants now that are 3 years old. So they've been through 2 freezes coming up on, or 2 years worth of freezes, and we're coming up on the 3rd winter now to see if those will make it through again. And during the winter, every week we go out and we spray potassium silicate on our plants. And we have seen good results out of that. Now, subscription service for the commercial aquaponics. So if you've got a cannabis grow and you're wanting to get the most out of it, and you want to save money on farm management, so instead of hiring somebody to stay on site and tell you what your plants need by testing the water and reading those tests, we do this off-site for you. You collect the water, you ship it in, where we tell you to ship it once a month, or even twice a month if you really want to narrow down and needle down into it and get it perfect. We tell you what things you need to be doing, such as changing your pH or adding certain things, removing certain things. We'll catch you if you're putting in chlorines or chlorine or chloramine and tell you how to fix that. We'll give you some basic pointers that you're going to need to keep your grow growing well to get the best product, whether you're selling it or it's for personal use or medical use. So it's a really important and a much cheaper way to go to get the same information that you would get from somebody you were paying $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 a year to stand there and just look at it. And then after this water test is done and we read it, we actually pack up exactly the minerals that you need and we send them into you numbered for when to add it. So when you get it, you may have a number 1 and number 2. So that's going to either be week 1 and week 3, or if you're on a subscription where you're paying for 2 tests a month, you'll be week 1, week 2, if it's needed. Sometimes it's just week 1 if that's all your system needs, so we don't overdose anything. It keeps your levels at optimum, so that if you're in vegetative state or flowering state, we know that through what you tell us, what the questions we ask you. That way you get the best possible product and make the best possible money on the back end. It starts out pretty cheap at 3,000 gallons. And again, this pays for the water test, the minerals, the shipping to you. It does not pay for you to ship the water to the lab. That's something you'll pick up yourself, but still it starts out really cheap for a 3,000 gallon system. On this page, I'm hoping you can see this over here, but if you just go to aquaponics.com and click on commercial services, it'll bring you to this page. You can read everything we've got on here about it. Where it says fill out a form by clicking here, just click there. It's going to take you to another website. It's our questionnaire. Fill it out, submit it, and within a day or 2, I'll get a quote back to you. I'm not sure why it's doing that, but anyway, there's a questionnaire there to fill out. I'm having internet problems today, so that's probably what the issue is. Steve, do you want to add to that?
Yeah, I have an enormous amount of data I've compiled over the years. So everything from lettuce to fruiting crops, fruit trees, cannabis, you name it. We have all different types of farms utilizing this service now. We've had a huge response and a lot of people that kind of were in desperate need of this service. So I was super excited to launch this. We launched it at the end of last year kind of quietly and then went public with it earlier this year. And it's really kind of grown faster than we expected. So we're super excited about that, and super excited to finally help a lot of these aquaponic producers get rid of some of these phantom plant problems that they've been having, everything from lettuce to cannabis, and kind of provide a one-stop shop, easy price to handle one of the more complicated portions of your facility. So allows your workers to focus on working with the plants and not fiddling with the water, so they don't, it saves a lot of time and labor for you and your team. So, all right, yeah. Anything else you wanted to add there, Roger?
Yeah, I mean, want to kind of talk about our Facebook groups. So we've got 2 of them that we
Oh, looks like you froze there. Roger runs the True Aquaponic Facebook group.
Not sure what happened there.
There we go.
I was just gone for a second. Anyway, I would like to talk about our Facebook groups, True Aquaponics and American Aquaponics. True Aquaponics is a private group, so people can't readily see what you're posting in there. They can see that you're a member of the group, but you can post anything you want, and nobody from the outside can read it. American Aquaponics is an open group for members that you know, for whatever reason, don't want to be part of the closed group or the private group. So either one you want to join. If you're brand new to Facebook and you try to join either group and you're coming from this, make sure you let me know, because brand new people I typically won't let in because they're usually scammers just want to post a bunch of crap that nobody wants to see. If you're growing cannabis, either group will help you in. If you're just growing plants, whatever you're doing, we're going to help you with it. So log into those, join them, and let us know that you saw us here so we make sure we get you in. That's about all I got.
All right. And what's your website? How do people find you?
TrueAquaponics.com. And I'll just share that right quick.
Awesome.
So, and there it is, TrueAquaponics.com. Takes you right to it.
Alrighty.
One of the things I hadn't talked about, because it really doesn't have much to do with minerals, is the heaters we build. And there's a picture of a couple of them in a gentleman's tank. But there's 10% discount on them right now through the 1st of November for anybody that needs to heat their water during the winter. Some people like to, some people don't want the expense, so it's up to them. Anyhow, that's it for me. A little bit early.
Got a question. When using potassium silicate for pH control, have you ever encountered any issues with fish tolerance or toxicity?
No, we never have. As long as you are testing your water for your potassium levels, I've never seen it get toxic. And even if you overdo potassium and silicate, I've never seen it get toxic for fish. I've seen it get toxic for plants. It takes an extreme level.
You can kill fish, especially trout, salmonids, and striped bass, and a couple of others are a little more sensitive to potassium. Fish that transfer from fresh water seem to also be a little more sensitive to potassium levels as well. And then someone else asked, does application of micronutrients differ in dual root zone? Some may be applied directly to the pots rather than the water system as a whole. I found mainly with the micronutrients, you can dose most of those through the water, although some of them seem to have a faster response rate through the soil. So, you know, we're still kind of further flushing out exactly which one's best to soil versus water. Some of those have fully flushed out and figured out. Some of them are still testing one versus the other in tissue samples. So that's definitely something that's a process, but we have multiple dosing schedules that work just great. Any other questions? All right. Well, I think we'll wrap it up here. Do you want to give away something here to transition us there, Roger?
Yeah, absolutely. Let's give away a couple of pounds of potassium silicate. Just need somebody to type in if they want it, and I'm just not seeing a whole lot of chat. If you're talking, I can't hear you.
All right.